In this exercise, we're going to create a frame elevation. Notice I switched my view back to schedule and my chosen view is price frames. So from this point, I'm going to create a brand new mark number. I'm going to go to the quantity field and key in 1, and this mark number is going to be called 102. The frame type will be a hollow metal frame, and my manufacturer, to keep it consistent, will be Steelcraft. Now this column here called opening mode, because we're going to draw an elevation, we're going to set this opening mode to be ELEV for elevation, and then I'll tab off. The next column is called draw/frame template. This is where we're going to create a special elevation, so I'll choose that drop down list, and you can see that I can either create custom, create favorite, edit, or delete. Since we don't have anything created so far, the first thing I'm going to do is say create custom. And as soon as I select that, I hit my tab key to launch the wizard. The frame wizard has many options. In this case, we're going to draw a frame with light, so we'll choose the default, which is selected for us automatically at the top. And then I'll select next. In this case, for the door type, all we're asking here is whether it's a single, double, pair, in order for us to dictate whether or not if we're having a center mullion or without a center mullion. In this case, we're going to just select the default, which is single, and I'll select next. On this screen, it's asking for how many lights you want in the highlighted area. So by using your mouse, by selecting these up and down arrows, you can control how many lights you want in a particular area. Now in this case, if I just want to have a single light, regardless if that light goes all the way to the seal or not, I would choose single here. And then I would pick next. And as you can see, it will walk you to the next zone, and we'll keep walking around the entire elevation until we're finished. And as soon as I select finish, you'll notice that it will build that elevation here on the screen and fully dimension it for you. Now in this case where we have a single side light, if I wanted this side light to go all the way to the sill, I can simply select that dimension with my mouse, like the 26 here. I'll select that and change it to 82. And you'll notice it pushes it to the floor. Or I can change it once again and maybe set it to be 36 inches or whatever I choose. So at this point, if you've selected all the dimensions you wish to change, you're now ready to set your profiles for each one of these members. So I can select, as an example, the outer jamb here, and you notice as I selected it, it becomes yellow. As soon as it becomes yellow, I can pick right with my mouse and have many options to choose from here. But one other point here before we go any further. If I hold my shift key down, I can select multiple profiles at the same time. So if all of these are going to be the same, I can simply select them all at one time. But in this case, we're just going to define this one particular piece here. So by selecting it, I pick right with my mouse. Then I say retrieve from either the job library or my favorites library or the Steelcraft library, since we've chosen Steelcraft as the frame manufacturer here. So in this case, if I wanted to choose the Steelcraft library, I can choose an open section and maybe say it's an F-Series cased open or an F-Series equal rabbet 2-inch face. So if I select that, you can see that it balloons it based on that name, and it has turned the item green, identifying that it has been completed. But if I wanted to look at that profile, I can select it and pick right and hit modify. Now you can see the dimensional values for that profile, and notice that they're all grayed out because they're being controlled by Steelcraft. So these are view only. And then hit OK, and you're right back to where you started. Now if you wish to create your own custom profile, it works the same way. You would simply select that piece and pick right, and instead of retrieving from the Steelcraft library, you can either choose from a job library and create a new one, or go to your favorites and create a new one here as well. The difference between job library and favorites, whatever you create there will show up on every job that you do from this point forward, company-wide. So in this case, we just want to create one in our job library that will be specific to the job that we're working under. So in this case, I'll pick job library and I'll select create new. Now this gives you a list of all of the different profiles that we've seen over the number of years. So as we scroll through these, you can see whether they're aluminum extrusions or hollow metal or wood jambs or etc. And you can also pick the drop down list and choose the one that you want very quickly this way as well. So if I pick a double rabbet, return out, or I can just scroll through those options with my mouse. Let's say that this is the profile that we wish to use. On the right hand side, we're going to key in all the dimensional values that correspond to the letters. So in this case, if I want a 2-inch face for F and G, I'd key in 2 inches here, And if I wanted 1 15/16 to be that value, and the same for this one here. And for D, I'm going to make that 5/8, and E as well. So for H and I, I'm going to make that a 1/2 inch return. And J and K is going to be a 1/2 inch return as well. So as soon as I hit OK, the name that it's asking to save this profile to is going to be the name you would typically see on a set of plans. So in this case, I'm going to call this one J1 as an example, and then hit OK. And you notice that it balloons it called J1, and that piece is now green. I'd go through this exercise and doing the same thing to all the other members of this particular elevation. Once I'm finished with that elevation, I'd simply hit Save and Return, and the name that it's asking for here would be the name of the complete frame elevation that you'd see on the plan. So in this case, I'm going to call it F1 and hit OK. Notice it selects F1 and puts it into that frame elevation for you automatically, and defaults your 3070 because that's what we set with inside of the CAD Wizard as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of the information for this opening. So in this example, we want to modify the existing F1 elevation. So I'll select it from the drop-down list and select Edit. And as soon as I hit Edit, once again, I'll hit my Tab key, and it will bring that elevation up to be edited. Now, instead of drawing this from scratch, one of the options is you can pull from a library. So if I wanted to redefine this particular elevation to one of those existing elevations that have already been created, all I'd have to do is go to the very top under Elevations and say Redefine Current. And you'll also notice that there's other options to choose from here as well, like mirror the elevation to keep from having to draw something that's the exact mirror. But in this case, we're going to say Redefine Current. So as soon as I pick Redefine Current, I'm going to say, instead of Frame with Lights, I'm going to pull from the EPWS library template. So as soon as I pick Next, it will show you a list of elevations that have been predefined. And as I use the arrows to scroll through these, as soon as I find the elevation I wish to use, I just simply hit the OK button. And as soon as I hit Finish, that elevation is fully defined. Now, just because it's been fully defined doesn't mean I can't make changes to it, and it will not affect that elevation library. So if I want to change that 26 to 36 as an example, I can do that here. So all of these components have been defined from a profile standpoint. That's why everything is green. So I'll simply just hit Save and Return, and now that has been updated, so F1 has everything defined about it. Now that everything has been defined for mark number 102, if I simply hit Price Frames now and select OK, you'll see that it also calculates the price of that frame elevation as well. So right here at the very top, we've got $367, and below us under the machining setup, you'll see that it's automatically factoring the cut and notching that's needed for that as well as a glazing bead. Now if we wanted to see the effects of that on the reports, if I select the report section, I can simply pick frame elevations, whether it's 11x17, omit mark numbers, etc., by putting that check mark. And I'm just going to use the default, so I'll pick frame elevations here and reduce my view here, and so you can see the effect of that here. The frame template, F1, the quantity, and if you had filled in the architect's frame type, it'd fill that data in here as well. So that's what the frame would look like on the drawing, but at the same time, if you want to look at all of your profile details, you could select that here as well, and all of those that you've used on this job would pop up as well.